All right, so we'll touch base again on this. What I can refer to as the spiral rotating cross of Aikido's tactical responses. Okay, so we don't want to ever contest. Okay, we want to non-contest, and this is basic to Jiu-jitsu. Aikido being a Jiu-jitsu, you're going to non-contest. Okay, obviously it's basic to almost every single East Asian art because of the Silk Road culture thread that runs through all of them. Okay. Non-contestation is universal also to any viable fighting system because it doesn't require you to be stronger than your enemy. So there are what we have come now to see as fighting systems, but if you pay attention, they're usually sport or sport derived, in which case the size of your opponent is artificially controlled for, and you don't need to know how to non-contest in order to gain victory. It's actually probably not as economical as just a short blast of overpowering somebody that you're capable of doing so upon is going to be much more economical. And that's where you see sports. That's where you're also seeing a degradation of martial arts that were classically geared towards non-contestation, but having entered a sport environment, weight categories then thrust upon them, and now you start seeing more contestation within those. That's what's happening to modern BJJ, for example, which is why current practitioners don't have the skill of practitioners 20, 30 years ago that could easily grapple way above their weight class. Okay, that's a disappearing skill. Recently on the Facebook page, I shared with you guys that that video of that much smaller guy. Probably that opponent had 100 pounds on him, and you could see the strength difference because every once in a while where the smaller guy contested, he just got thrown around like a rag doll. But all the other places where he would not contest, he was able to maintain position, and then eventually he beats that guy. Okay, that's just classic fighting systems of a practical kind. Along this same vein, for the officers out there that follow me, this is why I can't stand modern law enforcement defensive tactics or arrest and control, because it's always based upon the asymmetrical combative engagement as opposed to an asymmetrical combative engagement wherein that other person is way bigger than you. Okay, and so you always see people and they're always doing sport applications where they're out muscling a person that they're able to out muscle. You never ever see them doing it on another cop training partner who's got 100 pounds on them, or you never see the 135 female officer now trying to do it on a guy that's 200 pounds, okay? Because it's bullshit, it doesn't work. Okay. All right, so we going into what does this non-contestation look like in Aikido, such that I would call it a spiral rotation or a spiral rotating cross, okay? We know first from O-sensei's writings that he referred to Juji. And Juji is this is how you write the character for the number 10 in kanji, in Japanese. And this Ju is number 10, and Ji means character. So the 10 character is what Juji means. So we in Chiba's lineage, we have Juji Nage, where the person's uke's arm is across my arm perpendicular to it, and hence it makes a cross, and hence Juji Nage, 10 character throw, okay? And we know O-sensei referred to Juji, and we know from Silk Road culture that the internal arts refer to this pattern, and this is actually why on the Silk Road you see the cross everywhere across, whether it's obviously On the western end, you understand Christianity has the cross. Knowing for a fact that crosses was not actually how Romans crucified people. Okay, and then even on the east end, you see variations on the cross, if not outright the cross. Okay. Other things that you might see is like this symbol, the swastika symbols, you have the cross in there. And what this represents is a diagrammatic form of yin-yang or dichotomy or dualistic thinking that goes with the triune cosmology of Silk Road. So you have two things. They're not really two things. There's a oneness behind them all, and it's represented with this kind of crossing. Okay. Even, for example, in Judaism now, we have this Star of David that people identify with Judaism, but this too is a yin-yang symbol, and you would see it outside of Judaic traditions along that Silk Road. Okay. All right. In Aikido, if we understand this, we'll just use the East End understanding of this. We have yin and yang. Okay, we have two forces at their most pure states of opposition across. Okay. Uke's energy, we'll stick with Uke as opposed to an enemy. Let's say Uke's energy is coming horizontally, left to right. Okay. An oppositional energy is going to go in the opposite direction, right to left. Okay. This would be contestation. This is a no-no. You never do this in Aikido. This, however, is how most modern Aikido functions. People will push on Uke's energy, and here we have to understand energy with either mass, inertia, or momentum, okay? And we push on Uke, we overcome the resistance of that energy, and now force it the other way. This is how most people understand Aikido today, but this is incorrect. This is actually contestation. It is not non-contestation. Okay? So we want to note here, we should not be contending, we should be non-contesting. And contention is when we are applying this equal and opposite direction in the effort to overpower the force that's coming right at us. Okay? What we want to do instead in Aikido, let's keep this horizontal energy, is apply a force to it at 90 degrees, okay? So instead of applying a 180 degree counter force to it, we would apply another force coming in at this angle, okay? And you can imagine just very simply like a lever, you're at the distal end of the lever and this marker's going this way and I'm gonna push it this way, okay? This is a very, very simple thing that I'm doing. So I make this 90 degrees here. What happens though as I start to turn this force? Well, you have to keep the 90 degrees. So as you're doing this with this force is now going like this, you have to keep that 90 degrees going to that force as it's going around. And so these two lines, which if you overextended it, do you see, start to rotate this way, okay? And that's why it is the cross and we're rotating it. All right, why do I call it spiraling? Because we have to have the third dimension, which is not drawable here on this whiteboard. And as you start this cross rotating, when you allow for the third dimension, the whole cross now starts to spiral through space, and hence it is a spiral rotation that we're constantly seeking as we seek a 90-degree angle constantly to uke's mass, inertia, and momentum. Okay? We never push in opposition to it. That's what we're doing. So again, this is a cultural abstraction of those two cosmological forces, okay? And then we have here, okay, let's apply what we know about these two cosmological forces, and so that we produce non-contestation. And what that is that we're going to do this constant, we're going to do a 90-degree angle to whatever force vector we're dealing with. That force vector in this case is representative of uke's mass, inertia, and momentum, okay? The opposite again, the contention angle would be that we're here and we're making this 180, okay? All right. As we apply this in practice, however, this is a constant thing. It can't be this simple, abstract, two lines. It's a constant 90 degrees to the mass, inertia, and momentum of uke. And so you have this rotation that is happening. And then because there's a third dimension, this is actually going either down or it's going up as it's traversing also across the mat. And so you have to kind of visualize this as a spiraling pattern. Okay, that's what we just discussed. The other thing we want to understand is because within this pattern there is a circularity to it, okay? And an important thing to note is that a circle has two sides to it in a way. What we want to draw out of this is anything that is going forward, so in this case from left to right, can be made to go back right to left without it reversing, okay? So we use this circle to take energy that's coming left to right, let's say in this case, and we will round this, keeping the body going in the forward motion, but now headed in the opposite direction, okay? What would be different from that is this contention model where I now try to overpower it, do you see? And now this force overpowered is also heading in that direction. We don't do that in Aikido, okay? When we can achieve the 180-degree other direction without having to stop it, reverse it, or overpower it by allowing it to continue to go forward on a circle. And of course, the same thing can be done in terms of the verticality. By bringing something down, and if you continue it forward, you can bring it up, or vice versa. You can bring it up, and eventually, if you keep the circle going, they'll eventually be going down, okay? We want to understand that as well. And likewise, because of this, depending on where I am in the circle, energy from my perspective can either be outward projecting or inward projecting, okay? There can either be centripetal energy or centrifugal energy. And we use that constantly, okay? If I want to pin someone, for example, I position myself in a where all of this stuff, this spiral rotating and the nature of circles, will generate an inward energy that I use to pin that person. When I want to throw them, I position myself in a when in the circle to use a centrifugal energy to project them away from me, okay? Okay, so as I gotta give you one more thing. As we generate both of these possibilities of the circular pattern, which is that I can keep things going forward, but actually send them back on its 180 degree. Very, very, very important. And the same thing with going up and down, okay? And as I can be in the circle at a certain where, and I generate centrifugal energy or centripetal energy, also very important, okay? You have to remember that this 90 is a constant 90-degree application, okay? And that means that, in particular, when Aikido uses centripetal energy for pinning and centrifugal energy for throwing, and I have to generate these forces within a constant application of 90 degrees, the only way you can do that is that from your single contact point, you can generate this constant 90-degree variation. That means internal skills. So if I want to touch your shoulder or your center or your other foot, you see, from one point, it's because I can keep from that single point energy being applied to you at different vectors. And you cannot do that from a physical external touch. You have to keep moving. It's not possible, okay? Likewise, when I want to throw, I have to throw at a constant adapting 90-degree vector to whatever you're doing. Otherwise, I'm just pushing you, okay? And that would be your kokyu, and it would be the same thing. From wherever I'm touching, I keep modulating for the 90 degrees from wherever I'm touching, okay? Which is why within Aiki and Kokyu is not only a kind of internal non-contestation in the sense that yin and yang ultimately get reconciled, but there is the seed of the physical non-contestation. You can't really do this with you having to re-grab, which most people don't, or reposition, most people don't. What they end up doing is eventually they hit the 180 as they fail to keep modulating for the updating 90 degrees. And they now hit the 180 and they just overpower the 180. And that's why you uke look so different on how you're thrown and how you fall versus other uke who can do all their crazy front break falls right in the same vertical plane. For example, they're not hit with the X pattern. Or in some cases, the back break fall, they can just sit their butt down or even do a back somersault or backwards roll, which is totally impossible for how we throw because this is constantly being modulated and your body itself is spiral rotating, okay? Which is what makes it very, very hard to become skilled in our ukemi style because it is shitball scary as fuck, okay, right? And most of us can't reconcile that amount of fear. And so what do we have to do? We have to go back to this model, which allows you to just go backwards or go forward, okay? Which is not really the art, okay? All right. Okay. So we'll just work from here. Oh, Ihami, sorry, Ihami. Okay. So we'll just work from Ihami because that's what you were working from, okay? I'm not going to go into this stuff. I just want to go into this non-contestation. So I'm not going to go into the Tesabaki, okay? I'm not going to go into it. But you guys see for yourself that I'm gonna move him as opposed to him staying there and then me going around. So I move him. You see the difference, okay? Because I'm going to use circles, okay? I just figure that out. You can figure that out. It looks totally different, does it not? It looks totally different. Totally different, okay? Right?
Right.
Right?
Right.
Okay. But I want to look at the energy that I start to use to take him down. Okay, so however I got there, you can see that his energy is either
was either going to go forward, in my version, or it's staying still, okay? Face me again. Even staying still has mass and inertia, okay? So that is a force. And all I'm doing here is applying, what its force is going up, down. Do you guys understand that? Okay. And all I am trying to do is shove it down. That's all I'm trying to do. If I could, I'd smash him down like that, you see? But I can't. So I'm smashing it down just enough where I can't do it anymore, and that's what causes him to turn. Okay? And now when you add my movement to that, stay there. I don't want you to move. When you add my movement to that, that's what makes this pulling. Do you see? Now, if I brought him forward, then I'd be pulling him backwards. You see? Then the contention is obvious, okay? But there's another way to do this, and that is I position myself within the circle, and I have his mass going up and down, and now going forward, okay? Because I would have the two force vectors in my version of the technique, okay? And I'm going to position myself in a place that when he goes, I'll do it here physically. When he goes forward, say that. When he goes forward, go forward, that it holds him here. Then, when he is staying still at the same time, the energy that has him staying still, right? I am going to allow it to turn. It's very hard to do from here because of the slack that you have there. Energy is spilling out all over the place, okay? But once I come to the adhesion, okay, now I want you to feel that, okay? And he goes forward, then I can keep cutting these little increments, those constant 90-degree angles to what he's doing, okay? So here again, if he tries to go forward, I keep taking it that way. He tries to go forward, I take it 90 degrees. He tries to go forward, and I take it 90 degrees, and it's easy, okay? So that's why I keep him moving, and it's easy peasy. Whoa. And you cannot do that externally. I could do it here, but now I start losing it, you see? I got it from here to here, but now when he goes forward, we're on the 180. Do you see? Okay? And so that's where I just showed him that. Were you able to get that? Does that make sense? Okay. So instead, I do start him rotating, but I just keep that 90 going. Which means I have to constantly turn. Okay? Now, back to that centripetal energy here, okay? So I need him to keep going forward. If I stop this and I'm just using the 90, you can do that, okay? But I'm going to lose him. So I need him to keep going forward to get that balance going. Is what I want. Then you just stay with it. So on the one example, I'm demonstrating the inertia that I'm using there. Oh, sorry, not inertia, but that centripetal energy, and now all I do is stay with it. Then I'm here. So stay with it. Stay with it. Okay? It's different from I'm here and I pull him to me. Different. I stayed with what was happening in the correct way, and this other thing, I'm making it happen by just overpowering it. Okay? So just as I have to move myself such that I can continue the 90 degrees to your energy, I have to also be in this right place time in order to capitalize upon the centripetal energy of my Aikido adhesion. Okay? Try it again. Couple of key differences here in order to generate everything we're talking about is, one, I actually need him to keep going forward. I can't have him stay still, because even if I apply 90 on the same adhesion point, eventually I'm going to start right about here. I'm now pulling this thing back to me. Okay? Which is obvious when you watch the gi. Okay? So as I watch the gi, true, that is a 90, but now if I keep going 90, he's going to go away from me, do you see? And at a certain point, you'll watch his gi, do you see how the gi comes back because I'm pulling on him. Okay? So key difference is the uke does have to keep going forward. Okay? Another key difference here is that I don't stop moving and the uke doesn't stop moving. We all keep moving. So when the uke stops moving, I don't move the uke, and I come around, you see he didn't move, and now I move, now he moves. In the other one, we all keep moving at the same time. That's another key difference to telling you, am I doing this or am I not doing this? That is observable from a third party. Okay? At this point, what is observable to him is he can feel the adhesion gaining the centripetal energy because of the Maya being in the right place time within the circle that I'm generating. He feels that kind of thing on him. I imagine if we had a better camera and they focused on that, you would see it on his face, but he's able to feel it, okay? Something else is my hand, again, remember I said that it's more that I stay up with it versus I put him underneath me. I stay up with it, which follows my rule that I'm just aiming a fallen body. I'm not throwing him down, okay? So as we're moving and I get it, you won't see this stuff. You won't see that, and he doesn't feel that either, right? Like if he comes, in other words, do you feel that difference? Okay, that difference. Okay, this is what you feel, right? Because at this point he would fall out of the adhesion because I'm not gonna do this, okay? But because of the kokyu, you can't lift straight up. Go ahead. You can't lift straight up. Whereas strangely, as I go like this and I'm just here, you can push up. You see, okay, get it? So you look for that. Like your uke should not feel smashed at the bottom. They should feel like I can get up. Okay? So as you're watching that, you can see, like here at the bottom, I'm just maintaining light contact. I'm not here. He's not under me. Do you see? He's here, okay? So we'll go again. It's light at that point, okay? This is what allows me to do something that after I get going a while, I end up doing it. I'm not even sure I can do it consciously, but I end up turning around again, okay? Because I'm not pinning him down at that point. So we go around, and I'm over here, not over here. See this difference? So, see where I am. I'm going to be over here instead. No. I'll keep ten-conning. Up. Over here. Okay? Either way, if I don't ten-con, this hand is light. If I do ten-con again, this hand is light. But light does not mean he can pick it up. He can't. You can try. Can't. It's the same Koki extension. Okay? And now, the beauty of this technique is I just applied the rotating cross horizontally, and now I'm going to apply it vertically, okay? Which fits with the triune cosmology. Hey, you have to do both, okay? So we're going around one way, boom, and now I take that verticality, okay? So when he tries to come up, I don't try to shove him down. I don't try to grab him and pull him. And if he is choreographed to go forward, I'm not worried about him coming up. Okay? Because there was no pressure, let's go back to where you were. Because there was no pressure, he should feel the yin space, which means he should try to come up. Okay? And that means I have a force going this way. Well, that means I apply that ever modulating 90 degrees. He comes up and I just keep bringing it forward. It looks like he's crawling. He is, because if he doesn't put his hands forward, he would fall again. Okay? Well, let's just get there. Okay? So leave your hands where they are and come up. So he puts his hands there. As he tries to come up, and then he puts his hands there. Okay? Just down. Okay? But how I'm moving him is the adhesion will come back into place. Okay? So for a yes, as he tries to come up, you can do that. Okay? That's still the 90 degrees. But eventually, as he goes up and he moves in, I'm now in the place where I gotta now pull him, okay? Or shove him down, because he's gonna stand up all the way, okay? But with the adhesion, as he goes up, he's being moved, and I'll show you what I mean by that. Okay? Don't come forward. Don't come forward. You got it? And I'm just using that adhesion to move him forward. Okay? And it's just as he comes up, I'm also applying that 90-degree modulation. But it's done with the adhesion so that when he comes up and I move him around, I can keep the ever modulating 90 degrees fuller until the circle now reverses itself. He's going forward, but he's actually going the other way. Okay? Okay? So you're doing it twice. Boom, here, boom. Okay, let's try it. And you have that same need to be in the right place, time, the right when, where, in order to generate the centripetal energy on the verticality. And the way that you do this is the energy tells you where to move. You don't move the uke to where you want to go. So first let me show you what happens when we move the uke to where we want to go, okay? So I come around here, and then here, and here. Okay? And in that, eventually, you're going to not be 90 degrees to their mass, inertia, and momentum, and you're just pulling in this case, or pushing eventually, and now you're contesting what's going on, okay? Sometimes what happens on my deshi here is you're getting all this going, is you lose the connection here, go ahead, and you're like over here. Well, you shouldn't have stepped here. This energy told you to step here, you see? Okay. So you have to put yourself where the energy can keep its constant 90-degree modulation, okay?
Hi.
I can't let you go, and I'm over here and I'm pulling you into this thing. I keep the energy that I feel, keep that, so that I'm always there for the throw, okay? Again, some differences that you'll see is, we'll get to this part, is the hand on the neck is the dominant throwing hand until you reach the yin-yang transition, which happens at 12 o'clock, okay? Instead, what you'll see is he comes up and this hand is the dominant hand, and you start throws like that, okay? Because this hand has the adhesion point, when he goes forward and he comes up here, this hand's doing all of that. It's not till at this point, the energy that I was bringing down and around, I would now be pulling at 90 degrees to, at 180 to his wanting to stay up, you see? So that is when this hand now takes over. And when it takes over, it doesn't go down. It goes here. He doesn't want to go down to this energy, goes this way. Keeps that 90 degrees going, okay? So you'll see what that looks like. Here it is, and then up in this way. Yikes! Okay? It doesn't have anything to do with how many times you tenkan or if you tenkan at all. You're just doing this constant degree, 90-degree modulation.